It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Tennessee Titans are off the practice field for the final time in the 2022 preseason. Head coach Mike Vrabel spoke with the media earlier today, said next week we'll be back to a more normal regular season schedule. Rookie wide receiver Treylon Burks did not practice today as the Titans prepare for the preseason finale against the Arizona Cardinals Saturday night in Nissan Stadium. The team did make a move yesterday, trading for Eagles defensive back Ugo Amadi, a Nashville native, in exchange for a 2024 sixth-round pick. Also put linebacker Monty Rice on the reserve PUP list, making room on the roster. Rice will miss at least the first 4 games of the 2022 season. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Woo! Man, all right, today's packed. So Titans practice this morning. It's Alumni Day, so Blaine was out there hanging out. Alums of other teams. Torrey Holt was there.
Oh, yeah.
So that was going on there as well.
Yeah, he was taunting me still.
I wanted a picture of you two's hands next to each other.
Oh, yeah, his is way worse than mine. But
if you haven't seen Blaine's finger, he has a finger. They both have a finger that turns the wrong way.
Yeah, but his is, really, really bad. Maybe you could even see, that thing, he should never put it up. It is literally like hanging on to his hand.
How would you get a glove on?
Yeah, that's what ended him. I think that happened in Jacksonville. I forget the quarterback he was there with, but we were reliving some plays back in the day in the Super Bowl. I told the story how I'm up there matched up against Torrey Holt on the outside playing corner like I'm back at the chirp land, and I'm yelling at everybody corners. Why did all of y'all run over there? So that means somebody was playing safety over there, and it left me over there. I was about to call timeout in the Super Bowl right there. I looked dead at the sideline. You know why? Because Torrey looked at me, I looked at him, he looked back at Kurt Warner, and Kurt Warner looked at me and said, "Yep, I'm coming right at you." And I said, this look like trouble. I'm going to call timeout. I said, nope, I'm going to just line up. I'm going to play man-to-man press because we were in the red zone. I think we were probably in about the 14 or so. They were. And I said, don't let him inside. Don't let him inside, and I'll be good to go. I can run in this 25 yards. This is nothing. Right. I got him. Don't let him beat me outside. As soon as they said, yep, I'm coming to you, he said, shoo, inside me. I was like, I'm in trouble.
Did you go into trail then? You were in trailing
I was
mode?
not in trailing. I had, I love angles.
Yep.
So I got there at the angle. He double caught it. And then when he came to catch it the second time, right there in his hands, B Bizzle with the cast. Bam, baby. Got it out. He said, yeah, that was a good play, man. I was like, yeah. I said, if you didn't double catch it, I said, next play, you caught it on our actual corner, running the exact same play. I said, so I think I could have played corner, man.
So did y'all talk about it in the moment or like just
No, just today.
Just today.
Today. He was out of practice.
Gotcha.
He was out of practice. So no, we did not talk about it in the moment. I think we talked about it one time we had him at the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. We talked about it. But just to hear his analysis and everything about what he was thinking and what I was thinking at the same time, it was really strange. But great dude, future Hall of Fame receiver. They had a great, fun and sun on the turf, whatever they wanted to call them, man. They were,
greatest show on turf.
Yeah, they were, unfortunately. I said, can you believe we were playing y'all man-to-man that much? Because everybody thinks every player knows everybody, has everybody's number. You only really play the AFC, and then you'll have a sporadic 2 or 3 games versus NFC team. So you really only know the side of the ball you're on, and then you really don't get to know guys until you're like maybe at the Pro Bowl or at events for the NFL where everybody is no uniform, no nothing, and all those things. Not like how it is today. Everybody's after the game taking pictures and, switching jerseys and all that. They were, by the way, they do charge you for those jerseys. So I wasn't trying to give up no money. Yeah, that wasn't cool.
I mean, it's $1 billion league. Why would they let you give away a jersey?
Yeah, so I was trying to
wait
to the offseason and hit somebody. Hey, man. Hitting people up on their beepers. So, yeah, man. So that was great seeing him, let alone all the players that were there. It was kind of alumni. It was Alumni Day, and a lot of guys showed out, from Sanderson to Chris Sanders to, you name it, Peeler to, Kevin Long. It was like, so Wyatt just posted a picture. I just retweeted it. So yeah, it was really cool. It was a bunch of other guys too. Al Smith, to you name it. Tim Shaw was there.
Ken Amato, I saw him. Dexter
McCluster, Craig Stevens. I mean, when the list goes on.
Oh, I didn't see Craig. Doggone it.
Yeah, Craig Stevens.
He saw Rusty Smith and Mariani out there.
Yeah,
Rusty was there.
Yeah, Rusty. Yeah, Mariani's in the picture with us. Yep, no doubt. Yeah, so it was pretty cool out there. So, with that being said, we got to watch a little bit of practice, and we saw the King. Watch this. The King has arisen. He has risen, and he looked like, and he did a lot more today than I've ever seen him do. So, Mickey, you kind of maybe go into it a little bit, but he looked kind of scary today. I mean, the way he was running in team, and some people going to have to make some decisions. Like, you got to
business decision
in games. I see why. I was on ground level. I would probably have to start on Wednesday to think how I'm going to get this guy down and how I'm going to hit him, and I better go in there full steam ahead and don't hesitate, because that's how he gets everybody. So you got to know that it's going to hurt, and you going to have a headache, but you better be ready, because if not, man, you're going to be looking silly on TV, or on film, because you can see when guys are timid and not trying to tackle guys. And I'm sure when you watch people trying to tackle Henry, you see that among especially secondary guys. Man, he looked like he was. I felt the power and the flow. Man, it's a different deal, man, when he's out there. So got to see Willis, but Woodside was doing a little bit more reps too at the twos. Right, I mean, he was, at least they were splitting it up then, if you could say that.
And it hasn't been that way lately. It's leaned way more towards 7, but today it leaned a little more towards 5 at times in practice. So Woodside's getting his. Now, he threw a pick 6 today in practice, and he threw a pick 6 today in practice. It looked like he was throwing it the route to the DB.
Well, Willis did yesterday, I believe, at joint practices.
He did, and Tannehill threw a deep pick. So that's a couple of pick 6s. Now, the Cardinals were not there today. They're practicing at Vanderbilt.
Right.
So they were like, nope, no. I know this is all scheduled months ago, but we ain't doing it. So it was just Titans versus Titans today. Traylon Burks didn't practice. He jogged in yesterday. Didn't look like he was favoring anything like that. Didn't see him at all today. Didn't see him.
Saw the new kid from Overton,
Ugo Amadi.
I'm a big fan of his, to be honest. I've known him since he was a kid, and he trains in the off season. So I get to, he trains where I do a lot of training for the combine. So I got to talk to him. Really sharp, smart kid, football kid. That I like his skill set, but his skill set is exactly. But just a veteran and probably a little faster than Molden. He can be a safety. He can be that nickel. His lateral quickness is off the charts. He wears a weighted vest when they do 7-on-7 in training and everything else, and he's moving around just like everybody else. This guy's he's pretty sharp. He's not a big guy. He's about a 5'9", 200 thick. So he's probably going to be that nickel dime type guy. But I'm interested. There's so many new safeties. Why are we signing so many safeties?
Safeties out the yin yang down there,
Lonnie
dude.
Johnson Jr. Then we had the Gillespie kid from the Raiders. Then we already had the DJ Moore. Theo Jackson was back out there today. Man, the list goes on and on. So
Adrian Colbert, remember him? That's
Colbert
another
was
guy.
making plays in the preseason. He could be a practice squad.
Josh Kalu.
Yeah, Kalu was back out there today.
Blues Kalu.
So I'm like, whoa, with something, man. I'm wondering why, and not giving up any big, resources as far as collateral to get the players, but it just, man, it seemed like we're stacking up on safety / nickel guys and dime guys. So I'm wondering what's going on. Moden was not out there, so maybe there's something more to that. But that's just one guy. So I don't know. Maybe they think they can't develop Theo Jackson now that he's missed some time. They want some veteran presence there. Maybe possibly could, sneak him onto the practice squad since he hadn't really played but one game. They want him to be able to play the first game, and he may not be. I don't know. It's still plenty of time. I'm just trying to think outside the box. I don't know. If I want to think way outside the box, maybe they're thinking about trading one of the safeties. I don't know. I have no idea. This is really interesting. So or maybe we just don't know the extent of maybe a couple guys' injuries, and maybe they're a little worse than we know. But always your actions display what you're thinking in this game. So yeah, that was man, that was really interesting. I like what I saw out of Lonnie Johnson Jr. He was matched up against Rudolph one-on-one, man-to-man, and he has that length and that cover ability of being a corner/safety in college at Kentucky. And I really like what I saw. So I think he's going to be our version of Cruikshank if Theo Jackson's not ready to go. And he's got some experience. And he can run. I like what I see right there. And then with Ugo, if Molden's he's that guy. So if you want to go slide or dime, I don't, But Farley was back out there as he was coming in on nickel. McCrary is the starter. I think that's pretty much done. The seed just all of a sudden does something spectacular, consistently or something like that. That's how I see it. I know we kind of goes in, but that's what the rotation's been in game, so that's what we can say. That's kind of how it look today. Nothing changed on that part. Unless, Farley goes out there and does some really good things. It was crazy seeing Hopkins yesterday make that one-handed catch. We didn't talk about that. Who was that on? Fulton? Who was that on? You remember the one-handed catch in one? Oh, man, it looked bad. Somebody tweeted it out. I'm going to go Jimbo or Glennon or somebody, Teron, one of those guys.
Hopkins did because
Hopkins did?
Yeah, it was on Fulton.
It was on Fulton.
Because we weren't allowed to shoot one-on-ones. It's a Cardinals rule. We can't shoot one-on-ones. So we just had to look at it, and the Cardinals can shoot one-on-ones.
It was a Cardinal sin.
Yeah. So
literally. Thank you. I'll help you here all week. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, we got to go. Short break.
All right, here we go. Here's what we're doing. Chelsa Messinger, who joins us, talks gambling with some great tips for you if you're so inclined to do something like that. She joins us at 1:20. And then at 1:30, the sensei from Karate Kid, Martin Kove, Sensei Kreese, is set to join us at 1:30. And you're going to have to drop and give him 20 if you don't stick around for this.
Oh, uh-oh.
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. How about some betting tips from the person who does the daily tip? Chelsa Messinger joins us now at Chelsa Messinger on Twitter. She gets up early every day to tell people how to win some money. Is that right, Chelsea? They got to get up early, though, to catch you, though, right?
Yeah, you're going to make me rich.
I don't know about making anybody rich.
Oh.
I wake up very early. I wake up at 3:30 every single day on the weekdays. Oh, come on. Well, I'm done by 8 a.m., so that's nice. So I do a show 5 to 8 a.m. Central Time because it's 6 to 9 on the East Coast. But you know what? It's fine because you get the best lines on some of these daily games.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Just, did he hang up on you?
All right, you're
What?
there. Okay. It's something, we had a little craziness in our headphones.
Well, no, we're going to blame Lucas.
Yeah.
Lucas hit the dial tone, and we heard doop like he hung you up, and we couldn't hear anything from
no.
you. Yeah,
He can't get up and
This
hang
is
at
what
5
happens
a.m.
because he got up at 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea, so he's got some issues going on right now.
So it's literally, think about this, guys. It's Thursday, August 25th. On Saturday at 11 a.m., there is a Central Time, God's time zone. There is an actual college football game, and oddly enough, Chelsea, who is based locally here and is from Gallatin, Austin P in Western Kentucky kicked this sucker off.
Oh, God.
How about
yeah,
that?
they just put a line on this game, so I wasn't able to do much research on this one because, they didn't have a line. But now it's open at 22.5. Western Kentucky laying 22.5, so it's not like, Western Kentucky sneaking up on anybody. I saw their win total is pretty high, so people are expecting big things out of the Hilltoppers. Don't think I'll be betting on this one. Too big of a spread, and honestly, haven't done much research on it just yet.
That's a good lesson for people, don't bet just to bet. Now, what about Vanderbilt in Hawaii? Oddly enough, that's the last game of the first day of the regular season. Vandy's going halfway around a quarter of the way around the world to play in a high school stadium, basically in Honolulu. How do you think that one's going to shake out? You like Vandy, is that right?
Yeah, initially I thought Hawaii was going to be the play because it is a tough place to play. You've got to think about the travel involved to get to Hawaii. Yes, it's a beautiful place, but it's a long ways away.
Yep.
So normally I usually take a look at Hawaii, but they are missing a ton of players from last year. They are completely rebuilding that cover. They've got a new head coach in charge. So I think it's more of a depth concern because we'll see this with some of the smaller schools. And usually this is the problem for Vanderbilt in the second half. Over the years, we'll see Vanderbilt kind of be competitive in the first half, the years that Vanderbilt is halfway decent. And then the second half, we'll see the depth really start to show on the offensive and defensive lines. I think that's going to be the case for Hawaii. Maybe they score some points against Vanderbilt, but it's still the difference between an SEC team and a Hawaii team that's completely rebuilding. And plus, we've seen this in the number. It opened at 4.5. It's gone all the way to 8. So I think the money is heading towards Vandy. So I'm going to lay it with Vanderbilt.
There you go, Chelsa Messinger, at Chelsa Messinger on Twitter. The Daily Tip, making you some money out there.
Well, Chelsea, this is unfair. I did not forewarn you what I was going to ask you because this is a game on Thursday versus Tennessee, and my Ball State Chirp Cardinals. I know the line was like 33 or 35. I don't know what it is, but did the line move at all? Like, I wanted just to feel better about myself because Ron is up there calling me out, Ron Slade, and I'm telling him we're going to meet in the boom boom room.
Well, here's the thing. If I'm remembering correctly, Tennessee did not cover against Ball State. What was it, last year? So here's the thing.
They played Bowling Green. Did they play Bowling Green, I think?
Was it Bowling Green?
Yeah, it was
oh,
Bowling
my
Green.
God. But here's the thing about betting those huge spreads. Tennessee can beat the brakes off Ball State, but you can still get a backdoor cover in the fourth quarter if Tennessee is, pulling starters or something. So I think when you're looking at those games, maybe look at their schedule and see, does Tennessee have a look ahead? They're playing a ranked team in Pitt the next game after this. So maybe if they're beating up bad on Ball State, maybe they pull the starters or, try to take any kind of play that would be put on film, because that's another thing. If you're playing these teams that are not going to be competitive, do you think Tennessee wants to give game film to some of these other teams? I'm not so sure.
Good point there. Well, with Chelsa Messinger, I guess we have to look at the Nebraska Northwestern over under. Where are we at on that?
Yeah, this game's going to be in Ireland. I'm not sure why they would play a college football game in Ireland that doesn't involve
My homeland.
Notre Dame. Like, what are we doing here? But I think it's going to be a tough travel trip for both of these teams. I think I'm going to go with the under at 50.5. If you look at both of these teams, number one, Northwestern has trouble scoring. Last year, they averaged 16 points per game, last in the Big Ten, and normally Pat Fitzgerald teams ground and pound, and the only way they keep it close is through the defense, because this used to be a great defense. In 2020, I think they led the Big Ten in defense, best defense in the Big Ten. So maybe that's how they keep it close. It was a bad defense last year. It's a Northwestern team that was 3-9 last season. I know a lot of people are thinking about the game last year between Nebraska and Northwestern that ended in Nebraska winning 56-7. But here's the thing. Nebraska is working in a new offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple. They've got a new quarterback, Casey Thompson, who's transferring away from Texas after being all right, but a little less than impressive, or else he would have stayed at Texas probably. So I think there's going to be some growing pains there. And plus, I just think the trip is a factor too. So I think we'll see more of the running game here. I think it goes under the total of 50.5.
Well, I'll go some NFL now, and that is teams poised, do you think, to have some regression? What's some best bets on that?
God, everybody's talking about the Titans in this regard. And how many times have you guys heard this? Like, it's
all the time.
Every single article I have read has been the Titans are going to have some regression. Like, do people not remember that Derrick Henry only played 8 games last season? Do people not remember that Julio Jones accounted for 1 touchdown last season, so losing him might not be that big of a deal? I know the question for me is probably the offensive line for the Titans. Can they give Ryan Tannehill enough time to be at least somewhat decent? So I know everybody's on the Colts, but, like, I don't know. They've counted out the Titans before. I think a team probably the most ripe for regression, probably the Packers. Devontae Adams, I think, meant a lot to that team, especially when it came to explosive passes. The receiving core is going to be way different for Aaron Rodgers. But the thing is, he's still an MVP. Under Matt LaFleur, they've still won 13 games each and every season, all 3 seasons. So I think it's going to be a great regular season team, but I don't think the Packers are going to be in the talks to win the Super Bowl this year.
Lastly for me, and that is for Mickey, on can Pujols hit 7 more to hit 700? 7 more home runs, right? Can he make it? Please tell me
Hell
he can.
yeah, he can make it. Have you seen his numbers against left-handed pitching? If they face lefties, Albert Pujols, I think the last time I looked it up, he was hitting 388 against left-handed pitching. He is more than just a face in that lineup that's there for his history and his name. He's raking against lefties. So, yeah, I think he can do it.
Chelsa Messinger, our guest, what would you set his actual age at, over, under?
I'd say 46.
That's like Central Page territory.
I'm going 48. What does he say his age is?
42.
Oh, okay.
That's what
He
they.
ain't 42.
I wish I was 42.
But he doesn't run like he's 42, man. He run like his feet hurt.
All right, one last one for today. You had sent me a prediction that you liked out in the Pac-12, the corpse of the Pac-12 as it limps to its finish. But we have a coworker, Kevin Dyson, the Miracle Man, Dr. Smooth, we call him. You like his Utah team to win the Pac-12? Not one of these teams that's leaving, huh?
Yeah, I think all of the glitz and glamour is going to be on USC this season. But you've got to remember, Utah was the best defense in the Pac-12 last season. So I think it's more reliant on defense, because that's going to be the problem for USC. Yeah, they're going to have this high-flying offense that, honestly, I feel like it's going to take a couple games for everything to click. That's usually how it goes when it comes to chemistry. But Utah deserves to be up there, and I think there's some value on Utah. They're not even in the favorite category, I believe, to win the Pac-12. They polled all the beat writers in the Pac-12. They put Utah as one of the better teams, Utah and Oregon, as opposed to USC. So I think it's a value play, the fact that, you know, so many people are already banking on USC that they've won the Pac-12. I'm going to go with Utah.
Well, Chelsa, thank you for the time today. We appreciate it. Daily Tip, people can, again, catch you there each and every day from 5 to 8 a.m. And also your updates right here on The Zone. It'll air probably after this segment, so they can hear some more of you then. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for having me.
Yes,
appreciate it.
At Chelsa Messenger. Always fun having her on. See, she's giving you some ways like, okay, maybe you're kind of focused on football around here. We'll take Utah out in the Pac-12. It's a value play for you. All right, this is the rare double-booked 1 o'clock second segment.
Double dose.
Double dose because Blame is out doing a charity event and meets all the people from Cobra Kai, and the sensei.
Yeah, months ago. Right?
Months ago, the sensei is, you know him as John Kreese on the show, but Martin Kove is his real name. Supposed to join us here any minute now. So it's, again, the rare day that we double book a segment, but should be joining us any second.
Right. So if you do have a question about Cobra Kai, put it in our chat or call in and talk to Lucas 737-1045, the Zone Natural 615, and see what you got going on with John Kreese of Cobra Kai. But we can talk a little bit about Burks wasn't out there, and I think this is a little concerning in that he won't have the impact that we want him to have early on in the season. And when I say that, I'm talking about he's really just rotating around with the receivers. Not like they're not making an attempt to say work with the ones, get some chemistry with Tannehill, because Tannehill is real big on if you are out there and you're available, I have to have trust in you that you're going to be where you need to be and everything else, and you're going to do the right thing. And so, and I get it. I'm right there with Tannehill on that, and especially at quarterback. And so I don't know if it's going to take to week 2, 3, 4 for him to. And I'm not talking about having A.J. Brown type impact. I'm talking about have a splash play in the game, one splash play a game where he impacts the game in some form or fashion, whether that's catching a deep ball, whether that's catching a sharp pass and turning into something, make some guys miss, being a vertical threat where the people have to address you. It doesn't have to be actually, production, but you have to impact the game some kind of way. And I think they're going to have to need that, to really get to where they need to be. Even if he just gets 400 or 500, yards, and you got Woods at 1,000, you get NWI at 4 or 5, what he did last season.
Phillips gets 500, 600.
Yeah, right. And then now all of a sudden, as a group, you're never keying on one guy, and that, everybody's having their form of an impact based off where Tannehill and the coverage takes you. So and not seeing him out there, I feel like that it's going to be a minute, and then he's not going to have the impact that we want early on, that I think he needs to have to really take the Titans to the next level, because you want to have that impact early, then slowly as the season you start adapting to the league and then what your role is going to be. Still have time, but we're not going to see it here early in the preseason. So, man, I just wish we could. I think he's capable and doing some things on reverses, speed sweeps, even screens. He's a big guy that can do a lot of different things, which is very uncommon. Even like a little guy, like he can do things that Phillips does. It's let alone go deep and catch and make some spectacular one-hand catch. We've seen it.
Yep.
So we just haven't seen it in a game. So I can't wait till we see that. So I'm hoping we get there sooner than later.
Well, what I can't wait to see is season 5 of Cobra Kai, because I have watched every minute and every second of the show that it's been on so far. One of the stars of the show joins us now, and the star of the original Karate Kid movie as well, Martin Kove. You know him as Sensei Kreese. Mr. Kove, fantastic having you on the program. Thanks for the time today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, let me ask you this. When you were making the original Karate Kid movie back in '84, obviously you're an artist, you've been part of a lot of productions in your life. When you were making that movie, did it feel special at the time, something that people would literally connect with in such a way for the rest of your life? Could you feel that at that time?
No, yeah, I mean, honestly, I when I first got the appointment and all, I read the script, it just seemed like it was just another heavy. And I was doing Cagney and Lacey at the time, and I had some time off, and I read for this movie, and it was kind of a challenge to read because they didn't give me much time to prepare. And to me, it was just 2-3 weeks of a movie, and I was playing this heavy and this tough guy, and he didn't have many redeeming qualities, and one never thought it would be the gift that keeps giving. The writers write this character more vulnerable, I would say, especially in this season, and certainly with the flashbacks over the last 2 seasons. But I was always interested in playing something with a lot more texture and not just straight down the road, tough, hard, insensitive. And to answer your question, no, it just seemed like another movie. I remember shooting and we didn't even like the title. A lot of us thought it was like a Bruce Lee movie, you know?
What was it like for you after all these years to unpack John Kreese again and to go back and revisit that character again?
Well, when I was literally signed on to do the show, I asked for them to write him with more texture, write him unlike Karate Kid 1. And they agreed. And they did it through, flashbacks and what happens to me in season 5, going to jail. And, it's they've really completed their promises, because I wouldn't have signed on to play, John Kreese as he was emotionally in Karate Kid 1, 2, or 3. And they did. And my notes, working with mercenaries, working with basic Army Rangers and a variety of people, bringing them notes of what I wanted to do in season 2 and 3 and 4, they were already prepared with everything. They were a year and a half ahead in perception of the character. They were conceiving flashbacks, they were conceiving Vietnam problems, conceiving having a girlfriend who just disappears and dies, as we've talked about it in the 3rd season in that flashback. And they were ahead of the game, so they just knew all my notes. And my notes, I never even got a chance to open up my pages at that Beverly Hills lunch. They were already on the game. It's all in the writing. Television series stuff is all in the writing. 1883, and just brilliant writing, and all of it. Cobra Kai, it's just wonderful writing, like the movie was, the initial movie. It wasn't based on the chemistry, I think, of Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio. I think the success was, why do we say wax on, wax off? Why do we say, paint the fence and do all those activities, sweep the leg, no mercy? Why is those lines carried over for 35 years? It's because the writing is so good.
The beautifully written Cobra Kai series, season 5, drops September 9th on Netflix. And the sensei, John Kreese, a.k.a. Martin Kove, joins us here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, thanks for coming on, John, man. I appreciate it. I know you guys are doing a lot of promotion of season 5 that comes out on Netflix September 9th. So I really appreciate that. I know you guys are doing a lot of traveling. I guess kind of take us through, for people who are now just starting to watch it, what's some of the lessons or thing, or summarize what you can learn from watching it? Me and Mickey are around the same age, and we've all watched it since the 80s, and then for it to come back and then have this new spin to it is really exciting, and at the same time, I'm sure for you too. So kind of take us through a summary and then kind of tease us on what to expect in season 5.
Well, the show is popular because the parents initially would say to the kids over the years prior to Cobra Kai, why don't you watch these movies, these Karate Kid movies with us? They're really exciting. And the kids, within the family would say, no. And, they weren't turned on by it because, Marvel comic books have dominated for so long, and special effects have dominated for so long. So when Cobra Kai came out, the kids would watch it because there was a lot of activity with teenagers within the structure of the story. And then they'd say to their parents, hey, Mom, why don't you watch this show with us? It's really great. And they watch the show, and then the parents would say, and this is, a collective information, the statistics that I get when I go to conventions or I go to autograph shows or people stop you on the street, and they say this. They literally reiterate it. And what happened was the kids would now say, that movie you told us to watch, Karate Kid, can we watch it? And they watch it together. And ultimately, the entire family would watch Cobra Kai. after the kids saw the movie, because the movies would give the background to all the characters. And it became a family event, like the old Ed Sullivan Show, where, how many times that, in my generation, kids would get around with their parents and watch the Ed Sullivan Show on Sunday night, because they had a little bit for everybody. Well, Cobra Kai has a little bit for everyone. And whether you like a hard ass like John Kreese, or you like, the gentle humor of Stingray, it's kind of like, it's just a phenomenon. And the three of us, I've analyzed this with my, I sat here last week I live in Nashville, and I sat here with my nutritionist, and I said, why did you fear John Kreese so much? Because I never got much direction from John Avildsen in the movies. He just said, Marty Kove, I want you to, don't be charming, don't do the Marty Kove twinkle, he wanted ice. And he got it. And that was the kind of direction you got. John Avildsen, back in those days, I don't know what Sly says. I always wanted to ask him the question, how much direction he got in Rocky. But, I never have. I should, just as a curiosity. But John Avildsen hired you as a director. He hired the actors because he believed he didn't have to do much direction, and he didn't want to. He believed that I've hired you because you know what you're doing. You know the parameters of the character, and that's why you're hired, to do what you do. And, he didn't give much direction, but he was a great visionary, and he created those movies. I mean, they were brilliant. The end of Karate Kid 1 was literally the beginning of Karate Kid 2. Mm-hmm. The original script ended in the parking lot, and with me fighting Miyagi, and he tweaks my nose and all that. That literally was the end of Karate Kid 1, and while we were waiting to film it, boom, phone call came in after 3 hours of deliberation. They decided to end the movie in the tournament. And that was it. And then 3 years later, we're in the same parking lot, putting my hand through real glass, fighting Miyagi, So it's a real phenomenon. Why Billy, Ralph, and I kind of look the same, people say, and, we haven't aged, and neither of us are drinkers, and, we just haven't abused ourselves. So, and we stayed friendly for years. So I think all that allows the people to have this great family experience and allows the show to have this vast amount of success.
I guess lastly, real quick, now that you're in Nashville, I know you moved from the West Coast. Are you a Titans fan? And would you love to be the 12th man? I'm a former Titan myself, so yeah, would you love to be the 12th man for the Titans game? Are you cheering for him? You pulling for him?
I would love to be the 12th man. There's no question about it. Am I a Titans fan? I am learning. To be perfectly honest, I'm a Dallas fan.
Okay.
But,
okay.
But I'm learning about the Tennessee Titans, and I'm very good friends with the previous owner of this ranch, and he's a big Titans fan, and he talks about everybody, and I'm eager to learn about the team because it's my local team now. But I love Dallas, and I was a massive Raider fan. I used to, when I first got to Hollywood, Dr. Rosenfeld was the doctor for the Raiders. So he would take me to all the games, and I'd stand on the field with James Garner, and we'd just watch the games. And I was good friends with Matusak and Stabler, and, this was heaven. And I came from New York, where I was a soccer goalie. I was never allowed to play football because my parents thought it was way too violent. And the closest thing I could get was going to the German-Hungarian League above college and play semi-pro and play a goalie because I loved the physical contact. That was the closest thing I could become to being a fullback, was being a soccer goalie, Yeah. And I dove into the feet of and there was this Jewish guy, Martin Kove, who dove into the feet of all these Puerto Ricans and Europeans, and they said, we got to have him in the league. So they brought me into the German-Hungarian League, and we all played in indoor gyms, and And then I realized how good you have to be a professional soccer player. You know.
Well, great. We appreciate you coming on, taking the time out. But September 9th, Cobra Kai comes out with their 5th season on Netflix. Check it out.
Yes, sir. Hey, on the way out, I know we're over on our time here. We need to get to a commercial break. Was Daniel's kick against Johnny that won the All Valley illegal? He kicked him in the face.
As illegal as it would be if you stuck up a liquor store. I tell you.
And we'll go on that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
I knew it. I knew that was illegal all this time.
There's no such kick as the crane kick.
Oh,
my every time I do a panel, I say with Billy, the real Karate Kid is sitting right next to me.
I love it.
Because the crane kick was an invention of one of the stunt actors, as well as Pat Johnson, who used to, it was a Hollywood invention, but it suited the moment. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Martin Kove, thank you so much for the time today. We really appreciate it. Thank you. This was great.
Appreciate it. Talk to you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
sir. Sensei Kreese, Cobra Kai, Season 5, September 9th on Netflix. We'll be right back. Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. How about that? Sensei Crease. Sweep the leg. People are putting stuff. Mercy is for the weak, says Lonzo on the Zone TV chat.
No mercy.
That dude scared me to death as a teenager. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, my.
He scared me to death.
I'm not going to go
That character.
that far.
And now I go back and watch the movie, and when Daniel-san is riding his bike to school, and Cruel Summer is playing by Bananarama. By the way, that You're the Best Around was the big hit song for the movie as well, and that was about Daniel-san being the best around with the illegal kick to the face of Johnny, which it was an illegal kick. I wanted to confirm that. I didn't know if I'd ever have another chance. That's confirmed now as well. But when he's riding his bike, and you're watching the movie the first time, and then you realize Cruel Summer, it's about to be the cruelest summer of his life. That dude's about to get the crap kicked out of him by Cobra Kai. And Martin Kove said, I didn't want to do the movie. I didn't want to just be some mean, heavy guy. And that wasn't what I wanted the character to be, more nuanced.
Or he wouldn't have done it.
Right.
That's what he said.
So he agrees to do it. He said the director just told him, be cold as ice. And he said, so that's what I gave him. But it's funny what works and what doesn't, because he said, we were making the movie. We hated that title. And I've heard other people in the movie say that, like Karate Kid. But it was a comic book character. That was actually a comic book character that they just kind of took and turned it into that movie and what it became. But the fact that you could make a movie in 84 and then 2 sequels, and you just come along 34 years later and go, yeah, we're just going to take these characters and kind of change. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, they kind of change around
back and forth. Oh,
who they
man,
are.
It's crazy. Yeah,
It's
really
great TV.
Yeah, who's the good and bad? But yeah, and then all the quotes, no mercy, enter the dojo, and all that. So yeah, it brings back a lot of memories from when you're a kid to all the way to now. Because I watched 4 episodes. I splurged and watched it maybe a couple months ago. I watched all of it in a 2-day span. So, yeah, it was a little exhausting. I have to say that, but I was so into it because we could ask Lucas, what was your favorite movie? And I was into Karate Kid because I was at the time taking karate. So it really kind of got me all in on it, So what was a movie? It's kind of an unforgettable movie for you as a youngster.
The Mask, Jim Carrey.
Oh, wow. So scary,
I don't know how
right?
many times I watched that movie as a kid.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you were not running and hiding up under your bed? How old were you?
No, I didn't do too well with scary movies as a kid, but I don't know what it was.
No,
about.
Ace Ventura or Liar Liar or The Mask.
Loved all those movies. All those
The
movies.
Mask.
But I had all
Didn't
those
see that
movies on
coming.
VCR. I had like all those Jim Carrey movies. Dumb
Thinking
and
more like
Dumber.
the movie of Triumph, like Karate Kid, where like good triumphs over evil. No, The Mask.
Yeah.
Young Cameron Diaz.
Oh,
Yeah.
watch this. Speaking of The Mask, they're saying that's where Tom Brady was at.
The Masked Singer.
Yeah, The Masked Singer. But I don't think that was true. That's why he was off. I have no. And then other people saying he was on vacation with his family because somebody was sick. And I'm like, oh my. It's all kind of rumors out there. Lucas putting out there.
Jael says Indiana Jones movies for me.
Ooh,
But
Indiana
those
Jones.
those kind of go back to our era as well. Like the first movie was
they
made in
started-
81, and then Temple of Doom was made around the time that Karate Kid
but
came
they
out.
kind of did the same thing that Cobra Kai's doing. Came back, reinvented, same characters mostly.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to make one more movie. Harrison Ford's like 80 years old. I think they're going to make one more of those movies. Maybe somebody could tell me, but Harold just says The Mask was hilarious as a kid. So who knew that's apparently Lucas is on to something here. People his age, they liked The Mask.
Well,
Well,
there you have it. The youngster preaching to us old heads.
that's right. All right, hour number 2. George Bremer is going to join us from Indy with a full Colts report. But when we come back, a full Titans report from practice. Today, we'll give it to you, including a Titan who was not on the field today that you want to be on the field. We'll tell you all about it next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Listen, if you are a fan of Karate Kid or the Cobra Kai series that's come out, season 5 is about to come out September 9th. It's on Netflix. Yeah. John Kreese, Sensei Kreese, a.k.a. in real life Martin Kove, who's a Middle Tennessee resident, joined us in hour number 1. You need to listen to the podcast. It will drop, I guess, Lucas, right after the show does. You do not need to miss that. You need to go and listen if you are a fan of that show. Because, well, let's just say this. I asked him, the kick to the face,
that's the best question.
Legal or not legal? And boy, did he give an answer to that. He has a strong opinion. But you got to listen to the podcast to find out. Maybe I'll tell you later what he said. But you can find out on your own. Titans back on the practice field today. Derrick Henry on the practice field today. And
he was.
He looks terrifying. He looks terrifying, which is what Derrick Henry's supposed to look like. Terrifying.
I just felt the whole momentum wave, even with the linemen, that he brings that to the table. They even was plowing people. It was, wow, man, he looks, I think, scarier than he's ever looked. Oh, man, you're going to have to make some business decisions there, making some tackles there. I don't see anybody at practice that was on the other side there that was scouting was thinking about thudding him up. Nobody. I never saw him thud. I saw him run to the end zone every time.
Yeah, nobody wanted to thud that. Was that instructed like, y'all better not touch him? Or do you think it's like, hey, y'all can give him a thud?
No. I think because Vrabel's all about, hey, we need to get everybody ready.
Right.
So thud him up now. They're saying stay off his legs, which nobody's going down, but sometimes that kind of happens.
Did you see him run through the line once and 2 guys got kind of piled up under him?
Yeah.
You saw everybody was like,
yeah.
And then he comes jogging. Okay, it's not 22. It's down. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, you got to thud him up, get him ready, go after the ball. You want to make sure he's protecting the football. That's how it's going to be. Those are the things that's all you want to see out of him at this point in time. It's itchy though. We saw some guys. I'm wondering if some of them going to play. I don't know what that meant by them doing reps to like even Henry. So I don't know if that meant they're going to play or not. As we saw Woodside and Willis kind of splitting the reps. Woodside maybe getting a little more. It's the first time I saw that. So that was a little different. Still, Petit Frere was there. Burks was not there.
No Burks. That was the thing. He jogged off yesterday. No practice today, Traylon Burks. So here we go again. That means I doubt. Maybe we see him on Saturday, but why? He needs reps. He needs to play, obviously, because he played the 3rd most offensive snaps on the team, I believe, last Saturday. 37, I think, was the number.
Well, there definitely never will be a conversation about him being in shape anymore. I think he's in shape. I think he's just, he had some opportunities. I'm going to be honest. I watched the tape in a different way. Like I watched it as though I was still a player. And he was open a couple times, and Malik Willis. And when I say open, he was open deep. He blew by people. I was like, whoa, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, he was open. And Malik Willis, I think one time he got a little bit of pressure, and his instinct just left me. If he just stuck in there, he would have let it fly, would have got hit after the throw. That type of deal. And there was another time that he didn't run precisely the route and stick it the way they want. He didn't hit on the 3rd step. He tried to do it early on the 2nd step. Malik Willis wasn't ready to launch it because the timing was off. That's why everything in offense is more about timing. And then so it was a little late there. That was the film. I think that was the Ravens game. Yeah, so I'm talking about Ravens, not even the Tampa Bay game. But so I'm sure that's happened periodically, but he looks like he's in shape. I saw in the Tampa Bay game, he did a really good job of blocking. I mean, he was getting after people to the point where they were getting so mad they were just slinging them at the end, like, get off me, man, and the play is over. So there's some things there that I see that I like. We just got to get him into the flow of the ones and getting that trust with Tannehill, because I think he can have some form of an impact. He's not going to be A.J. Brown. That was never going to happen. But what you wanted to get him production enough where he impacts the game every so often, whether it was a reverse or deep ball or catch, break, tackle, run, and everybody else contributing all about the same, where you're not really keying in on him. You're not keying on Woods or NWI or Phillips or whoever's out there. And that's the way they want this offense. The coverage dictates where you go to the football, and you never know. I think they tried to do a little bit of design, get him the ball a little bit, but not a lot. I would want to see a little bit more. I just want to see more. And then him not practicing, it's just really we got time, but man, time is ticking.
Yeah.
I want him out there with the ones in the rotation and him getting into a flow with Tannehill more so than not. I would force that if I'm coaching. And now he's not out there, so now you can't do it at all. But I want to get him up to speed. He's got impact ability immediately, and he's got vertical speed. There's nothing he can't really do. Not to say he's going to be great in the beginning, but we got to have him out there in some form or fashion, making some catches. And we're not even seeing it in preseason. Some of it's his fault, some of it not. Naturally, at the end of the day, the quarterback throws the football.
Vrabel got asked, like, how come you guys haven't tried to get him the ball, run him on a reverse or a bubble screen or anything? He's like, it's a preseason. We're not going to try to force anybody to the ball. Essentially, it's what Mike Vrabel had said. When the season started, though, because he's big and powerful, because he is fast, all those things, would you maybe have some things in mind, like we're going to throw him a tunnel screen? We're going to run him on a reverse. We're going to stick him in the backfield. We're going to get him involved.
Speed sweep. I think that's when he got the 4 yards.
Yes, yep.
So I think they're going to try to do that. I think one thing that Vrabel, I completely agree with, you don't want to force it because, now every time he comes in the game, everybody's watching him. So you want to let it to be part of the offense. And then now what could be to his advantage, nobody's kind of expecting that because they're not seeing a lot out of him as far as production. So when he does get in the game early in the season, if you scheme some things up, I don't think they're paying attention. Oh, he ran into motion. He may be running a speed sweep or a reverse or anything like that. So that may help him then. But I just don't like him not practicing. Things happen. No, he nicked up his knee in practice when he made that one-handed catch, which was phenomenal. A phenomenal catch on a deep ball. And then he didn't come back out, and then we see him in the game. He's playing. So I think that's why he's playing and practicing and not playing. He's probably got some form of ice was on his knee after the game, or he's standing on the sideline when he wasn't in there. So I'm assuming it's something like a bruise or something. You bruise your knee as a receiver as soon as you hit it again, whether you run into somebody's knee or you fall down and you get hit on your knee, it can. So I think he's tough. He's fighting through it. I just wish he was out there. That's what you want for a first rounder because your first rounder is supposed to be out there playing and impacting in some small measure immediately. Yeah. Tough. I don't, I know we've had some times where they didn't, but he has to. The receiver room is where he needs to.
Yep.
Even if that's 400 or 500 yards this season.
Jeremy in Nashville will help us wrap up this segment before George Bremer, who covers the Colts next. But I think this is a Cobra Kai related call since we just had the sensei on. What's going on, Jeremy?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. I jumped on the radio just a minute ago, right when y'all ended the first hour. But if anybody who appreciates like the remakes, there's a fine line of what you can and can't remake. That's always a conversation that people have. They did just a phenomenal job with the remake of Cobra Kai. The way that they developed the stories, the characters, brought back characters. You don't want to give anybody.
Yeah, Zapka's actually the writer, too. The actual guy who's the actor in the show.
So Zabka wrote it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So they did. Yeah, they you can't say enough about the job that they've done. But I just don't want them to string it out too far because if they do, then the story you start running thin of storylines. So there's got to be there's got to be a place where they're going to have to end it. So I see maybe this coming season and maybe one more after the storylines that are left from Karate Kid 3. They bring back Mike Barnes. How does that play out? Is he somebody that they could tap into of it? So it's definitely going to be a good couple of seasons left of the show, and they got to get this offensive line shored up, guys, because we can talk about Henry and you can talk about the injuries with Traylon Burks, but if they can't keep the pressure off the quarterback and out of Henry's face, it's going to turn into we're going to divert back to the frustrating years of Mike Mularkey when the defense would hold us in the games, come on offense, do something, and it was just frustrating. And so if they don't get it fixed, it's going to be unfortunately might be a long season for us. But
Jeremy, that was a fantastic transition from breaking down Cobra Kai, possible season 6 into the offensive line.
I agree with both.
You may be in the wrong business if you're not in this business. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, great job.
Hey, I'll talk to you guys later. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. He just it's right straight into that.
He's
I'm
so
jealous
right.
of that.
No one talks about the offensive line, but they, especially in the pass pro, I think we're going to be fine in the run game, pass pro, and then we're going to be leaving tight ends in, and they're not going to be running routes, and so then you only have 2 men in the route, and you got to protect your quarterback. So that's what they're stuck doing. They got to take some chances on leaving him on the island at times at offensive tackle. That's, so we shall see.
Boy, the King sure looked like the King.
Oh,
though.
we hadn't talked about it real quick. Radens was rotating at guards, or was he at both guard spots?
I want to say yes, that in the last 2 days I've seen him play left guard and right guard.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wonder about that deal, that's over. Nicholas Petit for a third rounder that's the tackle. There you go. So Brewer's the guard.
That means he's not the backup tackle. He's like the swing tackle. So who was that guy?
Yeah, maybe on another team.
Row.
Maybe on another team.
Man.
A lot of cuts about to happen. We got to cut this segment. When we come back, though, here's what we got. George Bremer, who covers the Colts. Let's find out what's going on up there. When's old Shaq Leonard going to be back? Yeah, he's Shaquille now. Also, the return of Titans ticket Thursday. Ooh. You want Titans tickets? Come on back.
And Haley.
The zone. Supposed to have George Bremer on with us here in just a minute. He covers the Colts for the Herald Bulletin newspaper.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, they're replaying the Tampa Bay Titans game, naturally, which is older. But, yeah, Dan.
Pick by Woodside.
Oh, yeah, the inside throw. He's got to throw it outside.
Pick 6 today.
Yeah, Dan Haley and Charles Davis. So, yeah, maybe we'll have on, I know Davis comes on pretty often, but I know Dan pretty well, too. Both of them UT graduates, so, yeah, I think we can have Dan on maybe talk tomorrow. Talk about the preseason game and what it's like. You know, what's a little bit different with those guys now calling the games? They can be a little homerish because they work for the Titans. And one thing that made me think about that, I'm like, I want one of those baby blue shirts. So it's not like when you're doing a national broadcast, you have to be neutral. Yeah, about both teams. Well, they know the Titans, and they're broadcasting for the Titans. So that's unique in itself. So, yeah. Maybe we'll get Dan on and talk a little bit about that if Charles is busy.
Well, Titans wrap up the preseason Saturday night. It's basically the same rundown as last week. We'll be on with Buck Rising, Blaine and Buck Rising, and myself. That'll be at 3 o'clock, and we'll be on for a couple of hours. Hopefully we'll be at the stadium. There were some storms in the area the last time, and we came over here, and that way it can stream, and you can see everything that's going on. Hopefully we'll be at the stadium. But Lee Company counting down to kickoff, and then we'll hand it over at 5 to Coach Mack and Mike Keith. And Titans Amy and Rhett Bride and the whole crew, and they'll get you in shape for that last hour. It's interesting, Blaine, and I know, again, we're waiting on George Bremer to check in with his Colts beat writer, but we talked about this some at the top of the show today. They just continue to go and get guys who are safeties. Like, they're just acquiring. They've traded for 2.
Waiver.
Picked up one off the waiver wire. Ugo Amadi is the latest guy. He's an Overton grad. He went to Oregon, all the way out to Oregon.
Yeah. Oh, and he returned punts and everything. He was electric as a DB, and he's kind of in that form of Molden where he's a safety slot guy. And I remember he played against the Titans last year, so I really like that because I'm a big fan of his, just on his acumen on the game and his knowledge as well as the way he plays. So he'll get an opportunity to have a role like that. I would think he moves up top of the list. I think him and Lonnie Johnson Jr., the second rounder from Kentucky that went to the Texans that we got in the waiver wire that you mentioned, I think he's going to be that tight end cover guy. I really like his length. He's kind of that tweener, not really a corner, but not a big-time, safety. So I think he can be in a crunch. He can play either, but I think he's going to be that, Crookshank role.
Well, we will find out soon enough. One more preseason game. Let's find out how things are going on up in Indy, though. Again, George Bremer joins us now, who covers the Colts on a daily basis for the Herald Bulletin newspaper. George, how is this wrapping up world of preseason football treating you? Because today, last preseason practice or camp practice for the Titans.
Last one here for the Colts as well. I think they're probably happy. Compared to last year, it was a much more boring training camp, and I think they're probably pretty pleased with that.
At GM Bremer, Bremer, you can follow him on Twitter there. I know yesterday was the 3-year anniversary of Andrew Luck's retirement. A lot of people kind of sharing their memories.
Oh, wow.
I mean, obviously, you would have been in the middle of that whirlwind. What do you remember from that day? And does it still seem surreal to you?
Yeah, it really does. Even 3 years later, it's still like something you lived through, but you still don't really believe it happened. Being up in the press box and looking at him on the sideline while the news is breaking that he's retiring. I know at that time my wife was still taking photos for the paper. She was down on the sideline, and there were fans yelling to the players, is this real? Is this happening? And they didn't know. Some of them were asking her, like, what have you heard? It was one of the most insane, chaotic things I've ever been around. Obviously, the franchise is still feeling effects from it. I thought that night, I felt like this is going to set the team back 10 years. I think they've done a good job working through it, all things considered. But the quarterback carousel that they've seen, direct result of that. And, to this day, it still feels like surreal is a really good word for it. I think it's one of those things that if you saw it in a movie like Draft Day or something, you wouldn't believe it. You would say, this is completely unrealistic, but it was real life here 3 years ago.
I love that terrible drafting movie. George Bremer, our guest at GM Bremer on Twitter, who covers the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, George, thanks for coming on, man. What's been the biggest storyline, I guess, of camp just in general?
Yeah, I think the defense, they really have just been getting after it. They've been very good in pass coverage. You bring Stephon Gilmore in, that's probably not a big surprise that your pass coverage improved. Seems like he's rubbing off a little bit on some of the younger guys, just his work ethic and how he approaches things every day. Now you got to see what happens in real life. It's one thing to do it in camp practices when you kind of know what the other team's going to do. We'll see how it works. Saturday should be a really good test for them. With the Bucs coming in, Tom Brady's going to play at least a little bit. Starters are supposed to be out there for at least a while on both sides. So I think that'll be a really good look, as a preseason tune-up or a regular season tune-up.
Yes. Well, where are you guys on the injury front? You guys, especially Leonard. I think he changed his name, right, to Shaq? Shaq Leonard?
Yep, Shaq Leonard now. I don't think there's a great deal of concern right now, but you're never happy when he didn't take a snap during training camp. He was out there pretty much every day. He's messing around with the other linebackers, throwing passes sometimes. He can't do anything, in terms of actual work because he's on PUP and you can't participate at all when you're on that list. But it doesn't look like he's far off. He's not in a room somewhere by himself. He's not, working behind the scenes. He's been out and about. From my understanding, it's more of a nerve thing right now. So you're just waiting. There's some, test, I'm assuming, that he's got to pass to show that it's back at the right strength level, and then he'll be ready to go. But, the big question is how far into the season is it week 1? Is it week 6? We'll see.
What else? Anybody else on the injury front or no? That's it?
Quiddy Pay, what's going on with him?
Yeah, it just happened, right?
They dodged the bullet there. That was real scary the other day when he went down during a drill. It looked like he kind of banged knees with one of the linemen, and then he was down grabbing at his knee, which you never obviously want to see anywhere near a football field. But he stayed out. That was the first good sign. He was still out there on the bench. He had a big ice wrap on, and I think they said today it's kind of a bone bruise. So I think he'll be ready to go week 1. The other, and it was just a freak thing, probably the biggest loss is their punter, Rigoberto Sanchez. Yeah. Rely on him so much in the directional kicking game. He's also the holder and the kickoff specialist, so a lot of things that need to be replaced there. Running wind sprints at the end of practice, and he tore his Achilles. I mean, the odds of that, I don't know what they are, but that's definitely the most Colts thing that happened during this year's training camp.
Man, we're in a conundrum here in Tennessee with maybe keeping 3 quarterbacks. Where are you guys with Matty Ice, as everybody's been talking about doing really well? Give us your observation, Nick Foles and Ellinger. You guys going to keep 3 quarterbacks?
Yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to see. I mean, it's always kind of fun to see how those numbers work out when you get down in that final crunch. Obviously, Matt Ryan's been everything they hoped he would be so far. They basically hired an assistant receiver coach along with a quarterback. He's been out there, every day working with those guys on routes. Michael Pittman said that, he tries to stand by him every chance he gets, tries to eat with him, just tries to soak up everything he can, trying to get on the same page and, be as together as they can be week 1 down there in Houston. But I don't think there's any questions with him. Nick Foles is a Super Bowl MVP. You got a backup like that, you're feeling pretty good. And then, Sam's been a revelation, really, this preseason. He's improved so much, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do there. He's not probably in this team's plans for the next 2 years, and I think that'll be interesting to see how that impacts things. But he's made himself part of that conversation. I don't think he was when training camp opened, but he's gone out there. He's shown such vast improvement from a year ago that it's definitely going to be – they're going to have that talk.
Being that I'm from Indy, man, you hear all the talk about, man, who are the big-time receivers outside of Pittman? How's it going with Reggie Wayne and his, stint as a coach there, wide receiver, and developing some of these receivers?
Yeah, that's the big question with this roster right now. Pittman, there's no question with. He's been outstanding day in and day out. It'll be probably, honestly, a surprise if he doesn't catch 100 passes this year if he stays healthy. He's going to be a huge part of this offense. He and Matt Ryan seem to have good chemistry. But after that, there hasn't really been that one guy. You kind of want to see somebody else stack days. There have been flashes, a day here, a day there, a drill here, a drill there. But you haven't had anybody else step up and have a good week And I think that's something, even on Saturday, I think that'll be something to watch. They're looking at the rookie Alec Pierce and then Paris Campbell, of course, who's had his injury struggles. One of those two guys needs to step up and be a consistent number 2 guy so that this receiving core can move forward.
Well, with George Bremer, Indianapolis Colts beat writer.
Who's been the big camp star up there? I keep reading and seeing the name Nick Cross, the rookie.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about him. It was a little bit of a surprise when he was listed as a starter on that first depth chart. I mean, Blaine knows full well rookies don't get that very often. And if there's ties, it's going to go to the veteran most of the time. And for him to be the starting strong safety right away shows you how much he impressed the coaching staff. Lots of versatility from him. I think he's a guy who is really just scratching the surface of what he can do. The crazy thing is he's only 20 years old. And so, to be 20 and to be listed as a starter, his first 2 games, he's had a pass breakup in the end zone in both games. I think he's a guy they're really high on, but he's another guy, you want to see what it's going to be like through the grueling 17-game stretch. He's never had to deal with anything quite at this level. So he's a guy to keep an eye on all year, but there's no doubt Nick Cross has been one of the big stories from this training camp so far.
So for the Titans, it's weird to even say this, but it feels like one of the questions that's got to be solved is punter. Hard to believe Brett Kern might not be punting here, but it's a real dogfight. I think most people just say, just please God, don't let him punt for the Colts, who might be. I know they signed a guy hack, but I think he could be hacked for Kern. But let me ask you this. What questions are left to answer with one preseason left to go for the Colts?
Yeah, any battle still, too, as well.
Yeah, I mean, that strong safety spot between Cross and Rodney McLeod, who is the veteran in that group and has been good too. I think one of the biggest things, we talked about the receiving group earlier, that's obviously the big worry. The other thing that's kind of a nagging thing, and it'll be interesting to see, and they need to fix it by week 4 for sure, the run defense has been leaky. Now, they haven't had the ones out there very much, but they gave up 174 rushing yards to Detroit on Saturday, and it doesn't really matter who's out there or what time of year it is. No one's happy with that. That's unacceptable at any time. They know that. It was a real big factor, a really big focus point when Matt Eberflus was here. I think Gus Bradley's defense is more pass-oriented. And so I think they want to see, on Saturday, can you slow down that running game a little bit? Because obviously you can get yourself in a lot of trouble as a defense if you can't stop the other team on the ground.
George Bremer, there's no stopping him from covering the Indianapolis Colts. He does it for the Herald Bulletin newspaper.
Well, I guess I'm going to go here. Not a lot left. I know your dog is ready to rock and roll, but no, all good. But any surprise, possibly cuts, and I'm even slash that with a sleeper guy who may make the roster?
Well, yeah, I think there's a couple real sleepers that'll be interesting. Trevor Denbo is a safety who's really shined for them on special teams, has had a lot of tackles, leads the team in special team stops in the preseason. And that's an area that they're going to have to – they need somebody to step up. They lost Matt Adams and George Odom, who were both really key special teams guys. That can kind of go under the radar sometimes. Obviously that can be really important in close games, flipping that field position. I think Denbo's got a chance with that. And another guy is an undrafted linebacker, and JoJo Doman out of Nebraska, who's kind of in a similar way. He's been really good for them on special teams. But he was hurt for a couple of weeks in the middle of camp, and you never know, how that impacted him. He looked really good around those 2 weeks, but you never know unless you're in that position room, how that shakes out for him.
No doubt about it. One with George Bremer, Indianapolis Colts beat writer. I saw, the owner there for the Colts make a statement that I guess, I was wondering how the media, the players, as well as the coaches feel about the owner, saying that the Titans still are better than the Colts.
Yeah, I think that was Bill Polian, actually, the former GM.
Oh, his GM, okay.
Who came out and said that. And, yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of talk this year among that locker room. That loss to Jacksonville still stings, as it should. And I think it left a scar, and it's kind of – there's been a lot of talk amongst the players this year about, look, whatever happens on paper is fine. You can say they've improved with Matt Ryan. You can say they improved with Ngakoue and with Stephon Gilmore. But because of the way last year ended specifically, there's a real sense here of talk is cheap. You've got to go out and do it on the field. And the Titans the last 2 years have won the division. They're 3-1 against the Colts during that stretch. I think I think the general feeling right now from that, I don't know about the fan base, but from that roster is, until you do something about that, people have every right to say Tennessee's the team to beat. They're the team that's done it the last 2 years.
No doubt about it. I guess lastly for me, I have to ask about Chirp, see how he's doing, and that is Pinter on the offensive line. He was a tight end when he got to Ball State. He eventually moves to tackle. No, now he's playing guard, center. I mean, man, it seems like, they're running out of places to put you. I mean, how is he doing?
Yeah, he's definitely a utility piece here. Caught a touchdown last year, too, so you never know. He's a very versatile fellow. He's starting right guard. He'll be replacing Mark Glowinski. So we'll see how that goes, over the course of the year. But he's also the backup center, and I think that's where things get interesting. That depth in the interior of the line could really get tested. Ryan Kelly's out right now with COVID. He should be back in time for week 1, and no real concern there. But, that's another thing to keep an eye on Saturday with this team, because Penner's going to get to start at center. They're going to have to find somebody else at that right guard spot. And that's probably another area that if I was trying to make a betting line on where they might be looking for waiver claims, the interior of that offensive line, I think, would be high on the list.
That will be interesting because Titans will be probably looking for maybe a tackle. Going with George Bremer, Indianapolis Colts beat writer.
Hey, George, about 30 seconds on the way out. Did I see earlier in training camp some stories about maybe more touches for Nyheim Hines, less touches for Jonathan Taylor? I'm just asking because Derrick Henry's coming off catastrophic knee surgery, and there's been zero talk like he should touch it less.
No, foot surgery.
Foot surgery. Sorry, not knee surgery. I'm thinking of Robert Woods. Foot surgery. My compadre predicting or helping me out there. Is there some talk about less touches for Jonathan Taylor so more can go to Hines?
I think it's more just about getting Hines more involved in general. I mean, that's probably the end result of that will be that Taylor gets less touches. But I think it's more from the standpoint of they felt like last year when they put both those guys in the backfield together, they had some real explosive, easy for me to say, plays. And I think they want to get more looks at that, but they also want to get him more involved in the passing game. And I think that goes back to that inexperience at wide receiver. I mean, outside of Pittman, there aren't many guys who have done much. I think Pinner with 1 touchdown catch is probably 4th or 5th on that list right now in career touchdown receptions. It's not a real experienced group. And I think they know that Hines is a guy who played receiver in college. He's made plays there in the pros. They just want to get him more involved in general.
George, great stuff, man. People need to be following you at GMBREMER on Twitter and reading the Herald Bulletin regularly. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thanks a lot, guys. Anytime.
Yes, sir. All right. Ugo Amadi is the newest Titans defensive back. We will hear from him next. Caught up with him after practice. But first, how would you like to see him play? How'd you like to see him? It's the return of Titans Ticket Thursday. You can see him and all of the other 79 Titans. Be caller number 5 now to win tickets to see your Titans host the Arizona Cardinals this Saturday at Nissan Stadium. Caller 5 615 737 1045. We'll get them. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. 3HL coming up next today. You don't want to miss that, because why would you miss that? They'll get you all the way home today from 3 to 6. Appreciate George Bremer for joining us earlier. Also, Chelsa Messinger with some great betting tips from the Daily Tip in the 1 o'clock hour. And Martin Kove, the sensei from Cobra Kai and Karate Kid movies, joined us in hour number 1. So if you are a fan of that, fantastic stuff from him. Some great stories. And you can check it all out on the Blaine and Mickey podcast. Also today, another new safety for the Titans. They got Ugo Amadi. This happened yesterday evening. He's an Overton product, went to Oregon, has been in – okay, let's just start here. They got him in a 2024 7th-round pick from Philly for a 2024 6th-rounder. He is from Nashville. He was a 4th-round pick of Seattle in 2019. Like I said, out of Oregon. He was just traded to Philly like 10 days ago.
Hey, so he wasn't there very long. I didn't even know he had been traded there. I had no idea.
Not even long enough to like go get a post office box or anything.
He was a great punt returner in college at Oregon, electrifying. He hadn't done any punt returning in the pros. Been a slot, nickel, dime, kind of like Molden, but veteran. I think he's a little bit better just because his knowledge of the game. Short tackler, sharp, smart football player. I like his skill set. I'm just interested. Why they getting all these safeties? Man, this is crazy. What's going on here? I have no idea why we get accumulating all these safeties. And there's some guys on the team that, maybe could have been potential practice squad guys. Colbert. He even had the Moore, the veteran from the Texans. They traded for Gillespie. What's his name? Gillespie.
Tyree.
The Raiders from Missouri. So, man, it's a lot of guys. They're vying for – there's a lot of competition there. That's for sure at the safety spot. We don't even mention probably, for sure the top 3. So, yeah, sheesh. It's a lot. Theo Jackson was back out there today. Like, whoa. Somebody in trouble.
There's no shortage of people to play.
Bunch of people in trouble.
Well, I mean, they all can't stay. That's for sure. Ugo Amadi, we caught him coming off the field today. Our first chance to speak to him. He is wearing number 38 for the Titans, but kind of a scrum of reporters here, able to get a minute or so with him after practice. You can hear from Nashville's own Ugo Amadi right here on Blaine and Mickey.
My thoughts was I just couldn't believe it. This all happened so fast.
It's been such a whirlwind. I mean, you go to the Eagles and then here, just for you to start the season here, what does that mean, and how much do you feel like you need to play catch up?
I definitely got to play catch up. We got a game coming up this week. Appreciate it. It's going to be a lot, but, we're dealing with the 1%, so, you got to be able to flip the page to get ready for the new story.
What's kind of going to be your process of getting up to speed since you are coming out on the back end?
Man, just flying around, being myself, knowing what I need to do, and just being in the right position, making plays.
What do you think that you have shown them that where they wanted to take an interest in to bring you here?
I think my style of play, my versatility, being able to play both positions, that's very rare. I understand that's very rare to find, especially in today's league. It's a passing league, and need guys who can cover, can hit, guys who can pick up coverages very fast, see different run fits and all that kind of stuff.
So Ugo Amadi talking about his versatility, just kind of what the whirlwind he's been through. What is it like, though, Blaine? Because they got a regular season game in a couple of weeks.
He gets there early. He gets there early, stays late. Pick up the terminology. Coverages are the coverages, but he has to transfer the terminology into what he usually in his brain is used to. And I'm gonna use the Seahawks because he wasn't even there long enough with the Eagles,
right?
10 days. So yeah, but this kid, I know this kid. He is sharp. He is a smart football player. Very communication. A lot of communication out there in the secondary, very knowledgeable, making adjustments and everything else. That's not even, it's tough for most, but him, I've seen him when I train guys for the combine, and he always works out with a weighted vest on and running around like he doesn't even have a vest on. This guy is the real deal. I like him. I think it'll be an upgrade. If you're comparing him to Molden, I think he's an upgrade there with experience. Playing, as he said, multiple positions, nickel, dime guy to safety. So, yeah, I think and he's tough. He's a physical guy. He can play special teams. He's been as a role as a backup, but played in the nickel situation as a safety pretty much, and then dime. So, yeah, he fits into the mold of what they like in versatility. Yeah, so I man, they picked up him. And I like Lonnie Johnson too as being the tight end cover guy, one-on-one with his length and his cover skills, being a former cornerback. So I think those two pickups are really good.
And these are just kind of guys they just during training camp.
I love that as depth pieces on the roster, and I would assume that he's going to make it as well as Lonnie Johnson.
And that's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's junior.
just because a couple of weeks ago we're like, okay, well they drafted Theo and they have Hooker and Byard. I mean, who are the other guys? Well, they're going to get other guys.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
Theo was injured, and now he's just practiced, so I don't know if he's going to play in the game or not. I don't know how much he did in practice. But so you just never know. And then also Moore, the veteran from Texans. The list goes on. So it's going to be Colbert. We can keep going. Gillespie.
yeah, these are just safeties. We're just in the safeties.
Yeah. They didn't give up much, for any of those guys, so they can waive them, and it's just a blink.
Well, our show's been over in just a blink. It's time for us to go. Next safety to get a call from the Titans, the Hitman. He's going to come back. Wear that blue helmet.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, okay, I can come and coach him up.
But in the meantime,
In between time.
peace.